Welcome, Vault Dwellers. We're back at my test pad here at Electrical Island. This is where I build little demonstrators and set pieces to demonstrate some of the concepts that I do in my tutorials for, some ideas that you might use in an actual settlement. Like there's a defense setup for the not and gate, and there's a couple of lighting demonstrators over there. So this is not a completed settlement by any means. It's just where I do tutorials. So don't look at this and think, "Man, he sucks at building," or at least at building completed settlements. Maybe I do, but judge me on the merits of actual settlement builds, not my little tutorial demonstrators here. So what are we doing today? We are going to do a tutorial on the OR gate, and it's a fairly simple one to understand, where if any input is live, the output is live. So, and we can have any number of inputs, although I don't recommend going more than 3. So let's just show how this works with this little light here. We can have 1 or 2 live, and the light turns on, and because either or of these is on, the gate output is live and the light turns on, and we can turn the first one off and we've still got 1 or 2 live, and finally we turn the last switch off and we're back to having the light off. And that is frankly boring. There's if you're just going to try and control the same thing with multiple switches, just hook your switches straight to the thing. Where the OR gate starts to get more interesting is when we hook it to some additional stuff out of the power system. So what have I got going on here? Well, I have a little target range here, and of course this is again just a demonstrator, but it kind of shows how the concept works of we've got 1 target or 2 target, and these are pulse targets that just blink power when they're hit, and they're hooked to the OR input, and the OR output is hooked up to this speaker, so it'll buzz, and a light that'll turn green, and some power counters so that we can keep score. So we can use multiple inputs to control multiple outputs, and that's where an OR gate can get kind of handy. In fact, let's go ahead and just demonstrate that. See, the light turned on, the score went up by 1, and we can chain a couple of power counters together and get scores into the double digits even. So what's another application that we can do with the OR gate? Well, I have we'll call this a mad scientist lair. This could be a mad scientist lair, it could be a den of cannibals, it could be a Minuteman supply depot, kind of anything you want it to be. But what I've done here is I've got the door to where it opens and closes automatically. Oops. I have to actually walk through the door while it is open. I'm going to turn some lights on in here. Now, we can also open and shut the door from the inside, but for the sake of our mad scientist here, let's say Igor is going to be making a delivery. We want to make sure that the door is going to be open. We can lock the door open. Or if we're going to be doing some evil experiments in here, we can lock the door shut so that nothing that we do with any of these switches will do anything. So that is another application of a single OR gate. And I am going to show you how to build both of these things right now. They're going to be easier than you think they're going to be. Let's get started. Okay, let's build our little target range here. We're going to need a few things to build this. The first thing that we're going to need is, some of the most obvious, is the targets themselves, if you go into connectors and switches, eventually you'll find a pulse target or a toggle target. What we want for this application is a pulse target because it briefly turns power on and off when you hit it. So we're just going to put a couple of those down. And I've got some input power here. It doesn't really matter where this comes from. We're just going to take one input power to run this whole contraption. So let's hook that input power to both of these targets. So every time we shoot them, the light will turn on briefly, the switch will turn on briefly. Next thing that we're going to need for this is that OR logic gate. So we'll just put that guy right up there, and we can hook both of those targets to the gate so that every time we shoot either of those targets, there'll be power on the output. And the next thing that we had was we had a speaker down here that made a noise every time we got a successful hit. Now, I tend to use 3 speakers for everything because the default speakers are very quiet and it is hard to hear them. And what you can do with these is you can push them together with a rug glitch or a pillar glitch, or if you have place anywhere available to you, you can go into object properties and copy and paste position and copy the position of one of them and back out and then go to the next one and use place anywhere and paste the position onto the original speaker, and so it completely and perfectly overlaps, which is nice. We don't have to try and hide that or anything. And now you see there that the wires don't update when you do that, but if you select and deselect that OR gate, all the wires update. So it looks like there's only one speaker, but it's 3 times as loud as normal. Of course, it also takes 3 power to run it, so don't forget that if you have a settlement that doesn't have an excess of power available. I'm going to get that cycling light, and for now at least, I'm actually going to hook it to the input power. I sure do wish there was a way to change the color on that without exiting the build mode. And the last thing that we need is we're going to need our score counter. So I'm going to use some insulated conduits because I always use insulated conduits, but regular conduits work just fine for this. So we just kind of route that over there, and we take output power from the OR gate and put it there and there, and we can take a power counter, actually 2 of them if we want, to keep score. So every time the OR gate activates, the power counter changes increments by 1, and if we hook this power counter to that power counter like that, when that changes to 0, this one will change to 1, and then you'll be able to get 11 and cycle all the way up 12 through 19, and then when this hits 0 again, that'll change to a 2 and you'll have 20. So there we go. We are completely wired with this little target range. I think I'm actually going to move these counters over just a little bit so that I have a better shot at that right hand target. And we could make this look a little prettier. I saw a great build by Loco 4-Pack where he had like doors that automatically opened and closed at different times so that you would have to switch and time your shots and stuff. But this is enough to demonstrate the principles of how an OR gate works. So I'm going to get out of build mode, and I'm going to change the color on the light here to green. And I'm going to do a nice bright green so that it's easily visible, and get back into build mode. Now all we have to do is take the wire off of that and hook it to the OR gate instead, and now it'll light up green every time. I think for an actual target range, I'd probably try and protect this stuff from stray bullets, but it's enough for our demonstration purposes. So I'm going to pull out my two-shot automatic 10mm here, which I called double tap, and just put some bullets on those things. And I have noticed a glitch with this sometimes, and I have not been able to explain it. So you see there that it skipped from 10 to 20, and I cannot explain why, because the next activation of that power counter should have rolled this right digit to 1 and not activated the second digit. And if we hit it again, you see there it goes to 21. So it's this weird interaction, I think, with how fast power is pulsing in there. And the reason I say that is I set this up on an interval switch over here just so that we can watch it. Of course it would happen to be on 96 and just about ready to roll over to 100, which is of course just 0, 0. But if we wait long enough here and I babble long enough and fill enough dead air, what we're going to see is that this will properly skip from 10 to 11 instead of improperly skipping from 10 to 20. I haven't been able to figure that out. I think it's a glitch. If you have an explanation, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Disappointing scorekeeping aside, let's get started on our door over here for, in this case, our mad scientist lair with the super mutant experimentation area over there. And I'm going to leave myself a little edit break here. Let's go ahead and get started on building our multi-mode door for our mad scientist lab or Brotherhood of Steel Outpost or Minuteman Depot or any other thing that we want. I've gone ahead and torn everything out of here so you can see that, yeah, all the stuff that I had there was gone, but that just allows me to show you how to do this start to finish. So I'm going to go ahead and put some power on this door and just hold it open so that it will be easier to work in this thing. And the other thing I'm going to do is I am going to get myself a couple of delayed off switches, because those will allow the door to open and close automatically after a delay. And I'm going to get this handy self-powered terminal to program them, and just got to hook them up. And I use this self-powered terminal because that way I don't accidentally change the settings on the delayed off switches elsewhere on my power grid. Get out of build mode and get in here and go to delay switch control and change that to 4 seconds, because that is what I have found is the right amount of time for that door to open and close. Now you don't have to use one of these self-powered terminals to do this. You can use a regular terminal and a generator. It's just the self-powered terminal is kind of handy because it just takes fewer steps to get the things programmed. So once we get back into build mode, we can go ahead and store that terminal because we're not going to need it anymore. Now what I've done here is I've got power coming to this building through this conduit, and then it's glitched to the wall, and this right here is going to serve as input power for my little contraption here. So that wire there is just to hold the door open temporarily. So I want to do everything off of this conduit so that when it's all done, I've got that nice, neat installation that I showed you in the demo. So let's get both of the delay off switches and put those down here, and let's hook both of those to power. And now I could hook these both directly to the door, and that would actually be enough to do kind of a cool door all on its own, because you'd hit this button, the door would open, you'd step through, and the door would close automatically. But of course, this is Nacho Bidness. We're going to make things, well, I was going to say we're going to make things cooler, but sometimes I guess maybe we just make it more complicated. Either way, I'm going to grab that OR gate and set that down on the wall, and I'm going to get a manual switch as well. So let's get that switch, and I'm going to hook this to power right here. So we've got power on all three of these switches, and if we hook all three of them to the input of the OR gate, then if the outside switch, the outside delay switch, or the inside delay switch, or the inside manual switch is on, once we hook the output of the OR gate to the door will open. And I can actually demonstrate how that OR gate works a little bit right here and now, because you see that the output's on. So I turn that off, and now the output's off. And if I hit that delay switch for 4 seconds, it'll turn on, the output's on, and after 4 seconds, it turns off. But I also had another switch that I used to lock the door closed and just completely disable it. And that's another thing that is going to be really easy to set up. So the manual switch that I've got right now is just an alternate way to power the OR gate, and when that switch is on, the door will be forced open and the delay switches don't do anything. So let me grab another of those manual switches out of my menu here, and what we're going to do with this one is we're going to hook this one to the output of the OR gate and put that switch in between the OR gate and the door. So when that switch is on, there will be the signal from the OR gate can reach the door, and when that switch is off, the signal from the OR gate cannot reach the door. And we can neaten things up here just a little bit and put that there. And of course, I'm not going to bother with the decoration that I had in the demo. You can probably figure out how to hide your own stuff your own way. We're just going to kind of edge that into the wall, and we're done. This door is ready to operate. The only thing I have left to do now is first check, make sure I don't accidentally lock myself out. So with that in the on position, I should not be locked out. So I can remove this power that is holding the door open and get out of the build mode, and now we can operate this door the way that it was intended to operate. So we can come in, and now it shuts, and if we hit this delay switch, that turns the OR gate on briefly and then turns off. And if I turn this switch on, the OR gate's on all the time, and the delay on these switches doesn't even matter. And if I turn the final switch off, then nothing that happens on the door, on the OR gate, will open the door. So that's how you build a door that you can lock open or lock closed or operate on a delay timer, however you would like it to run for whatever role play that you are engaging in. And there we have it. That's all there is to it. I told you it would be easy. It's just a single OR gate for that door and a single OR gate for my target range here. I'm a little disappointed about this this problem with the way the score is kept, and I am really hoping that somebody in the comments will be able to figure out what's going on for me, because I stared at this for quite a while, and for the life of me I can't figure out why it would skip from 30 to 40 like that, especially when you do it with an interval switch, which is the same thing as those firing range switches where it's just pulsing power. And yeah, works right over there, but it doesn't work right over here, and it's essentially the same setup. But no one ever said that power in Fallout was completely free of glitches. Part of the challenge with this stuff is sometimes finding a way to work your way around the glitches. I hope you found this information useful, and I hope that you liked the video. If you did, be sure to hit the like button down below. And if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. I have a very simple combination lock that utilizes the OR gate planned for my next tutorial. So if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe and stick around. If you didn't like, please tell me why in the comments so that I can try so hard to do better for you next time. Until next time, my name is Nacho Bidness, and I'm saying it's a great big wasteland out there. Let's go have fun in it.